And we're here at Performance. What we have here is a 2010 Buick Enclave. I've got the drivetrain in front of me, sitting on 4 jack stands, 2 there, 2 in the back. There's the transmission, and here's the engine. And you can find a couple of videos on YouTube about this. And it's somewhat detailed, but the only thing is both of them are time lapsed. And I wanted to, because a lot of people have these vehicles. For some of you guys that are daring enough or mechanically inclined enough to do your own timing chain, this is what you have to deal with when you do a timing chain on this sucker. I've seen some guys do them inside the truck. I can tell you now, there's 3 chains on this vehicle. The engine has to be rolled in order for you to put both sets of chains on, or I'm sorry, the trio of chains. You gotta roll the engine. And with that being said, no matter if it, like this one, it came in time, you're gonna take it out of time when you're setting it up. So unless you know what you're doing, you have the proper procedure and schematic to do one of these, do not attempt it. Now, like I said, for the do-it-yourself or the guys that are mechanically inclined and can get to the schematics or may be able to get the information needed, a couple things. One, they put the starter in a real obscure place here, but here's your starter. Right here is the mounting pad for the front cat. I removed it, and I did that because as you're trying to, and here's the body. As you're trying to get to this, and a lot of guys do this on the ground. Of course, I wouldn't. You wouldn't think about removing the cat to change your starter, but in this case, it's a lot easier. There are ways to get it without it, but I mean, when the motor's right here in front of you, it doesn't make sense. You don't even have to use heat. 2010 and above, use a little penetrating oil and you can get to them just fine. 315s right here, and then you're going to have a 15 right here as a brace. And that's going to hold that cat snug to the block. And then you got a clear shot. You loosen these 2 screws up here, and as you can see, she's ready to come out. Instead of disconnecting the wires here, I'll get it out where I can see them, see the state, state or the condition of the nuts that are going to have to be removed to get the wiring off. A lot of times it's not even worth it. If I see a lot of corrosion, I'll take the starter, pin it up with the body, and continue to raise the body up so I can get to the top of the intake. Now let's get to the business end of this sucker here. What we're doing now is this is the actual timing chain cover assembly. And when I say that, it's so sick because here, get a little shot there. This complete plate has to come off. There are no breaks in this plate. It's all one piece. So first what you're going to have to do is you're going to need to, and you need to take care when you're doing this. This vehicle is direct injection. You got a lot of sensors, camshaft sensors here. These 2 are cam sensors. And you're going to want to take each one of these out. Each one of these sensors, you're going to want to pull before you attempt to bring the plate off, okay? And of course, then after that, you're going to move your tensioner. Another thing about this, a lot of people look for a 3rd bolt for the alternator. There is a 3rd bolt for the alternator, and what's so funny about it is you got these 2 studs here. These 2 studs are for the alternator, and GM got smart. They took the 3rd bolt, set it right here, and that same bolt is the same bolt that's used for the idler pulley, okay? So when you remove the idler pulley, you're removing the alternator bolt as well. Of course, you're going to move the compressor. You're going to remove the tensioner, harmonic balance. You're going to need a special tool to remove that, which we have here at Performance. You're going to remove the water pump pulley, and then once again, the camshaft sensors, intake, and then your valve covers. Then you can get to the meat and potatoes and pull this cover off. Now, the next time we have this shoot here, we're going to have part 2, and I'll be able to show you exactly how this setup looks. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with it, but there's just certain parts in the time-lapse videos that these guys show. And these guys are, of course, they do dealer quality work. And as I've worked in a dealership myself, you know, they can't show you every trick of the trade, but there's certain things that you need to know if you're going to try to attempt this, because without knowing about, you know, the little hookup for the starter, definitely people might try to pull this plate with these sensors intact, knowing that they go through bores. You know, like I say, the best thing that you can do is just find out what your procedures are before you attack one. Which definitely, if you own a Saturn Outlook, Chevrolet Traverse, GMC Arcadia, and in this case, Buick Enclave, you're going to do this or have it done, because the way these things work is the tensioners, and I'll explain, I won't get into it too big, but the tensioners for these chains work off the hydraulic principle, oil pressure. Don't change the oil, have dirty pressure, then the hydro tensioner, and is what they call it, actually loses its ability to keep tension on the shoe, which keeps in turn tension on the chain, and you'll lose one. And when you do, it's going to set a code. You're going to have crazy vibrations. It's going to run funny if you're lucky. If you're not, it's going to jump time. So, all right, that's it for part 1.